heart of Virginia, there's a stretch of pavement that has ingrained itself in American racing history. Built in 1957 with just a bulldozer and a plot of land, Virginia International Raceway has become an icon. Over the years since its reopening in 2000, it has hosted IMSA, the American Le Mans Series, NASCAR, SCCA, and Champ Car races. Legends have raced there, including Roger Penske, Mark Donohue, Richard Petty, Hurley Haywood, Dan Gurney, and more. Between turns 11 and 12 stood a defying feature, an old oak tree. This tree stood untouched, shading the south end of the course for decades. For some, oak tree became a symbol of VIR and a reminder of how road courses used to be built. They used to be built with the lay of the land, following each contour and moving around obstacles, not through them. Earth may have been moved, but not tarnished. Oak tree was a lasting memory of when tracks were not just built, they came to be, like the tree. Although oak tree no longer stands, nor does hog pen, turn 17, the corners both still bear the name of what used to exist, and the track stays unchanged the way it was meant to be, with the lay of the land, for the land. Maybe that's why Paul Newman called it heaven on earth.
Hi there, everybody, and welcome to Season 2 of the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA eSports Super Tour, this week from Virginia International Raceway. It wasn't long ago that the racing world, along with the rest of the world, was turned upside down, but in the effort to continue having hashtag fun with cars, the SCCA decided to bring its Super Tour online and into the realm of esports. Visiting some of the most iconic tracks in the United States, hundreds of members from all across the country exuded the club's core values of excellence, service, passion, team experience, and stewardship. So here we are. The SCCA is getting back into full swing with its real-life events, with time trials and track night in America bringing in record numbers, and the analog Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour getting back underway this weekend in St. Louis, and it's time to get to Season 2 of the eSports Super Tour and get it underway. I'm Greg Ginsburg from Super Tour Radio, and for the next 6 weeks, national champion autocrosser and voice of the SCCA National Championship runoffs, Larry McLeod, along with some other very special guests, will be bringing you what will no doubt be some of the best engaging racing and in esports. So lots changed, Larry, since season number 1, and with season number 2 getting underway, why don't you tell us what the listeners have in store for them?
Yeah, what we've done is we've gone to consolidate the excitement into a tight package. What we were doing before was 5 races, lots of cars, lots of classes. We're going to bring you 2 tightly packed action-filled classes. The first is going to be these F3 cars. We've got aero finally, real aero, real downforce, lots of knobs to turn. These drivers are trying to figure out how to make these things work. And then we're going to turn it over to classic spec racing with our MX-5 Cup cars and a big field there, talented drivers. But in addition to that, we've got prizes to give away. We got partners that have wanted to get involved with this, and that's awesome. And they're offering prizes with both of these two different races. So if we want, we can talk a little bit about what we've got in store for the F3 for this season.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to welcome back Competition 1. Competition 1 came on board during Season 1 and sponsored the Spec Racer Ford races that we're having, but they've really upped the ante. Of course, Competition 1, they are a prep shop based out of Scales Mound, Illinois, and they offer frame-up rebuilds, chassis alignments, arrive and drive packages. They've actually provided the last 2 Formula Enterprise 2 championship winning cars at the national championship runoffs. Flynn Lazier was driving a Competition 1 car in 2018, Rhett Barkow in 2019. And what they're doing for Season 2 of the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, really neat prize, Larry. They're going to be offering up a Formula Enterprises 2 car as an arrive and drive for a lucky winner. And that lucky winner, of course, will be the one who wins the Super Tour Series this season, to attend the driver's school, the SCCA Competition Driver's School at Blackhawk Farms a little bit later this year. That is a couple $1,000s worth of prize right there. And the drivers, they don't have to worry about bringing their own car. They've got crew, and all they have to really worry about is how to get their competition license. And of course, for the folks here that are racing, and as we mentioned, we've got racers in real life, road racers, but we also have autocrossers, we've got time trialers, we've got folks that do road rally, and we've even got volunteers that help put on all of the SCCA events throughout the course of the year and across the country. And many of them don't have competition racing licenses. They're finding their outlet here on the eSports Super Tour, and this will allow them to go, and if they can win the series, it will allow them to go to driver school, get their competition license in a very quick Enterprises car.
That's a huge opportunity. You think about it, even for, like you said, for people who do, whether they're doing time trials or autocross or rally, or even folks that have potential competition licenses in sedans or in some other sort of cars, touring cars, things that maybe haven't done formula cars. Here's an opportunity actually to take a driver's school in a formula car. I think that's another way to kind of explore this. What an awesome prize. I really appreciate the Competition 1 was able to come on board with this. And what a great way to bring themselves in is to have it in a race series like this with this car, because what this car is a great representation of that vehicle, of what like you mentioned, that they've been putting together and tuning the FE2 championship cars the last couple of years. This is a great representation of what that car is. These are 2-liter naturally aspirated cars. These are highly tunable. It's really what you're getting into in that level of Formula Enterprises formula cars. So great kind of almost match made in heaven there with they're coming on board here with this series.
Yeah, great segue. And of course, we'll also have a great prize package for the drivers in our Global MX5 Cup races this year as well. We'll talk about that just a little bit later. I think we're going to have plenty of time to talk about the great package that is available for the winner of the Super Tour in Global MX5 Cup as well. But real quick, Larry, I wanted to slow things down just a little bit. And hopefully he has joined us, and it looks like he is here now. I wanted to welcome into the announce booth JG Pasterjak. Of course, many of you know JG. He is the production manager and art director and a great writer as well for Grassroots Motorsports, and he's going to be racing in the Global MX5 Cup race, but he's coming in right now to join us for a little while, and I believe he's going to have a pretty big role with us in the announce booth later on this season.
Yeah, I always really appreciate having things slowed down for me. That helps a lot. It's good to talk to you guys. Great to see you. Yeah, and as you mentioned, I'm going to be joining you guys in the booth here on the weeks that I'm not participating behind the wheel. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's great to have you joining us in there. I know you are a huge supporter, huge enthusiast, obviously, of quote-unquote grassroots motorsports, but actually of the SCCA. And I met you at Solo Nationals, but also your involvement with the time trial program. You are certainly one of the biggest vocal supporters of the time trial program. The SCCA appreciates that. But from an enthusiast in that program, I just got to ask, what has been what's the one thing about the time trials program that's got you so, I guess, really fired up about it?
Oh, well, it really appeals to all the things I love to do with cars. I think it appeals to the autocrosser in me, in that you have to basically get into that mindset where you don't have a lot of time to go fast. You basically have to get into that sort of mindset that I have a very limited window in which to perform here. But it also appeals to the road racer in me, because you're operating at much higher speeds. You do have a little bit of time to sort of, get into both a mental and a physical state where you're driving really well. But it really sort of crosses over those two worlds in a really, really intense way. It's all the intensity of autocrossing and all of the high-speed thrills of road racing with very limited barriers to entry. I mean, you can show up to an event by yourself and compete and have a good time, and it's not something that requires a huge crew or a huge time or money investment. So it's very accessible, but also very competitive.
Yeah, matter of fact, we just had our initial time trials event of the season this past weekend at Carolina Motorsports Park, just a little bit south of where I am in Charlotte. It was down in Kershaw, South Carolina, and we had a record turnout for that event. I believe we had somewhere in upwards of 150 cars out there. Social distancing be damned. We had social distancing, of course, at the track, but a lot of fun had. Saw on Facebook a lot of posts from people that it was their very first time trials events, and but they brought out their street cars, and it's one of those things for the people that want to perhaps go a little bit further than just the typical track day. It's a great event and great way for them to experience fun with cars. The next one of these time trial events is going to be in just a few weeks. It's June 6th and 7th at Eagles Canyon Raceway in Decatur, Texas. I think there's still time to sign up for that. If you head to scca.com, you can definitely find out how. So, JG, tell us a little bit about, and I know you want to get back in the car and get some practice done in that MX-5 Cup car.
I need to get back in the car.
All right, so we won't keep you here for long. I was going to say, what are the keys to the races this weekend for you then?
Oh gosh, so personally, I have made the mistake of, after the last season ended, jumping into some way more aggressive, way more prepared cars on the iRacing platform, and I've gotten spoiled over the last couple of weeks. And driving that BMW M8, which is fantastic, and then jumping back into the MX-5 tonight. That car requires such delicacy, and there's going to be such a big crowd out there tonight, I think, especially with as many people as I see in both qualifying groups. So it really, VIR is a big track, but these MX-5 Cup cars especially require a lot of delicacy. I'm sure the guys in the F3 race are going to be going a little more aggressively. But the MX-5 crowd, it takes a real light touch on that wheel, or things can go bad in a hurry. So it's really who can sort of find that relaxed zen area where they're not forcing anything. They're just sort of, fingertipping the steering wheel, and who can be the most chill for 20 minutes, basically.
All right, so JG, let's not hold you up. You got to get those fingertips on the wheel, and hopefully your family of ducks there won't make things any more difficult for you. So
just got one in here tonight. He's hanging out with us. We got a shop duck. He was a rescue that was heavily people imprinted, so he doesn't he's not out with the street ducks outside. He stays in the shop at night. But
doesn't hang with the gangs.
Yeah. He really still hasn't quite figured out he's a duck yet, but he's super chill. But every once in a while he needs some attention, and usually it's when I have the VR goggles on. And if you've ever had VR goggles on and anything touches you from the outside, it ruins the moment a little bit, and it scares the hell out of you. So when a duck is biting your leg, I apologize to whoever I spun in front of when he bit my leg on that pace lap at Watkins Glen a few weeks ago. But yeah, such are the hazards of virtual racing in this time of a pandemic.
I love it. All right, so JG, we'll let you get back in the car. That is JG Pasterjak, production manager and art director for Grassroots Motorsports, and new announcer on the eSports Super Tour. He's going to be back with us many more times this season. So thanks a lot, JG, and good luck.
Have a great night, guys. Good talking to you.
All righty. All right, so Larry, want to change the pace up here just a little bit. Talk about something a little bit somber real quick. And I want to talk about George Henderson. Many people around the club knew George as G-Dub. He was a race official radio personality, had a great radio show about racing, and had probably most importantly a much larger than life personality and persona. G-Dub's involvement with racing dated back almost 50 years, including involvement in professional and amateur sports car, open wheel, and stock car racing. And he was both a driver and a team owner. He was a crew chief and mechanic, and also a race official. He also helped guide young racers up through the ranks, including several who went to very successful professional racing careers. As I mentioned, G-Dub was also a very talented radio personality who co-hosted more than 200 episodes of the Racing Wire radio show. He did that with my good friend Brian Belansky, and he was also a columnist for the SCCA's Sports Car magazine. In recent years, G-Dub he was heavily involved in sim racing, as a matter of fact, including being part of a team that successfully completed the Daytona 24-hour sim race earlier this year. Unfortunately, G-Dub, who was a member of the New York region of the SCCA, lost his battle this month with COVID-19. He leaves a wonderful wife and a son, and that son is both a racer and also a Navy fighter pilot. So I'd like to ask everybody to take a brief moment of silence here for G-Dub, for George G-Dub Henderson, and then we'll get back to racing as he would have wanted. Okay, Larry, let's get to it. We've got about 8.5 minutes left in qualifying here for our Formula 3 cars, and so here's a big difference in qualifying in this year or this season. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So in the first season of our eSports tour that we had, where we were putting everybody out on the track, basically mimicking what you would find at an SCCA club racing weekend, and that would be all the whole cars out there for a 15 or 20 minutes heat session. We're doing it differently this session. We decided, well, with 50 cars in these groups, limited amount of time, very tough to get track position, a lot of people out there, a lot of different levels of speeds. We're going to do what iRacing actually allows you to do, which is simultaneous one-car qualifying. So what you're seeing out there is essentially everybody has the track to themselves. There are 50 equal and identical VIRs in this virtual world, and everybody has their own. And so in this case, you look at the leaderboard listing on the left, Paul Darling's got his, and there's his time that he's run so far and on down the list. What's the limit here is it's a 15-minute qualifying or up to 4 laps maximum. So you get to go out on your out lap and you get maximum of 4 flying laps. Whereas before, in a 15-minute open session, you can keep going until the 15 minutes runs out. In this case, it's 4 laps maximum, or till the clock runs out at 15 minutes. This allows everyone to have all the track space they need, but you don't get to do that drafting thing that we were seeing a lot of, especially in the Skippies and Miatas and those things before. But this, we think, really gives everyone a chance to get a fair shot, put down the best lap they can, and we think that'll give us a nice fair grid at the end of the day.
All right, and we're on board right now with Max King in the number 44 car. Max is currently, I think, 6th fastest car on track with a lap time of 1:45.67. And I'll tell you, Larry, I'm looking right now at the leaderboard here. You can see it right on the side of the screen, and it is very, very tight here at the top of the field. Currently, the fastest car on track, Paul Darling, is the first driver now to break into the 139s with a 139.785. Then we've got Michael Stevens just a little bit behind there, Pilata and King, but they are all within just a couple tenths, in some cases a couple thousandths of a second of one another. Looking at King, who we were just following, and Chris DeShong, who are only about 10 thousandths of a second separating them in there. It looks like Chris is setting up for another lap. Same with Pilata, and we're back to Mr. King right now.
Yeah, what actually is impressive about how tight that is this car, if you see the available knobs that you can turn, you've got everything from the front torsion rates, basically front spring rates, you got the front ride heights, and you've got, of course, camber, caster, tow, but you've also, then of course you got your compression, your rebound on your front shocks. You also have what's known as a anti-dive spring. These cars are equipped with a 3rd spring on the front end that just controls how quickly the front dives under braking or rises under acceleration. So not only do you have corner springs, you've got a 3rd spring. The rear end's got the same thing. So you think about all of that, then you throw in the aerodynamics that are available to you with the front aero, multiple wing elements, rear wing elements. All of those things together means that in order to get the max amount of a car, not only does the driver have to do well, they've got to figure out how to put all that together like a giant puzzle and come up with the best fast solution. That's what impresses me is the times are close, which means these guys have worked this week to come up with a good setup and are ultimately coming up with similar lap times. I'm actually very impressed that these guys, and we have a lot of folks that really worked hard to put this together. Really, really impressed.
Yeah, and all right, let's see over here. Yep, let's go and look at Max King. We just saw him finish up on track. He just went to P2, and he's only about 3 hundredths of a second, or probably 3/10 of a second off of Paul Darling. So he moved up about 3 spots there on that last flying lap. We're now following the number 35 car out on track. That is Max Grau, and interesting that we should bring Max Grau up because he is the proprietor of Competition 1 Motorsports. So we want to definitely thank Max for offering up the great prize package, and we just saw him turn a lap. He is currently sitting at 9th in the order with a lap time of 1:47.48.
Yeah, and that's so as we watch this again, the 4-lap maximum means some folks might have gotten their 4 laps, parked it, and other ones might be kind of tinkering. What you could do is you got to do 1 lap, park it, but if you go out and then have to do a kind of a warm-up lap again, you got to be watching that clock to make sure that you got enough time. 15 minutes does allow you that opportunity. You can go out and do 1 flyer, quickly call the tow, or escape, they say, right back into your garage, make a setting change if you want. It's not like the in real life where you've got to go all the way around and complete a 3rd lap to pull back in. So that's kind of the nice thing about iRacing. But you do still have to kind of watch the overall clock to make sure that if you're going to try and go for that 4th lap, that you're doing it before the end of the 15 minutes.
And Andrew Rosencroft perhaps took the wrong opportunity to put the car around. We can see there he's got the San Francisco region symbol on the side of the car there from out in California. He's trying to set a fast lap. He is currently sitting 35th in the order, and looks like we've had 36 cars now that have gone and set lap times here, although we do have a couple other drivers out on track trying to set clean laps currently.
Quite a few. We're open to about 50 or 55 entries to get in. We had somewhere around 50 of them, I believe, who had taken times and had set times, somewhere at least 40-something had set times during practice. So we've still got 6 or 8 that have not yet set a qualifying time with only about 2.5 minutes to go here. So we'll be waiting to see if we can get some limit. One of them...
Yeah, I was going to say, one of them is Paul Sylvanik, who we're watching right here. We've seen him in a number of the different races on the eSports Super Tour throughout Season 1 and had a number of podiums. Right now, he's sitting at the tail end of the field, has not set a qualifying time, and as you said, time is starting to run out. He's starting to make his way down the roller coaster here, but just
only
2 minutes.
7th quickest in the practice session just a bit ago, so certainly capable of putting this up in the front couple of rows if you can get a time in.
And we'll see here as he comes down the front straight and crosses the start-finish line, and he does he set a lap time there? He does at a 1:41.443. Now that moves him up to 16th in the order. So not quite as high as he wanted, but he does have an opportunity. Looks like he still has at least 1 more lap in him, and we'll see if he can move up a little bit higher in the order.
The little bit of testing that I was able to get in this week with this car, it does get faster with subsequent laps. It seems like the sweet spot, at least the setup that we're running, is about lap maybe 4 or 5. So ideally, you want to get to that 4th lap if you can. At least, again, that's the setup that we were plus playing around with, as I was kind of supporting my son, trying to work on getting him a setup. So there is a benefit actually to what we're allowed here with the 4-lap qualifying to try and use the most of it if you can get there.
And, of course, Larry talking about his son, that's Jackson McLeod with the number 133 car. I believe he's already completed all of his laps. He's currently sitting 14th in the order.
It's tough though. It's tough to find time because you just throw one of the standard setups. There's if you're not on the iRacing platform, you drop into a car. It gives you a quote baseline. You just throw in whatever the setups are. iRacing gives you a few others. It gives you a high downforce, medium downforce, low downforce. You can try each of those. Again, they're kind of a standard setup with whatever settings that those classify you as. Everything else you do, you're on your own for. So you try all those. Roughly our lap times in those were like a 142, 143. So to find 2 more seconds out there, you're pretty much on your own with settings. It's definitely not easy.
No, I would imagine it's not easy at all. That's why I find it so surprising that all these drivers have managed to get so close to one another. And there we go. Sylvanik crosses the stripe, and he stays at, actually moves up now to 14th with a 141, 171. So he knocks a couple tenths off there and picks up another 2 positions. But, you know, it surprises me that these drivers were able to stay so close, knowing they had so many variables to put together. And I'm sure almost every single one has maybe not a wildly different setup, but something, you know, no 2 are going to be alike. So you know, you see this all the time. Obviously, you have engineers in the pro formula classes that are working on this, and they all also end up within a couple of tenths. You know, these drivers are in many cases making changes to the car while they're out on track, maybe changing brake bias or what have you, and they've all managed to get very, very close.
Yeah, and that's that'll be a lot of times you also make the settings to whatever you prefer as a driver as well. But what would be interesting to see is once we get into traffic, depending on if somebody went with a higher downforce setup because they got comfortable in the corners, and when you get on the straightaways, who was able to go with a lower downforce setup that can pull away in straightaways, and who needs that draft to stay close. So all right, let's talk about our grid. Or
yeah, I was going to say, as we get everything set up here, and the cars are showing up on the grid. And again, this is a 17-turn, 3.27-mile track. I know we haven't really discussed the track layout. I think most of the people that are watching. Yeah, let's go quickly, though, and we'll take a look at the track map. Yeah, legendary VIR first opened up in 1957, ran to 1964, closed down again, opened up in 2000 for its second stint. So let's take a look here. You can see right down at the bottom of the screen is our front straight, and you head down towards that turn 1, turn 2, double apex corner. Then you've got the NASCAR bend with right hook, probably with left hook, and then into a series of flat S's called Snake Larry, and then you start making your rise up the hill.
Yeah, when you get to the hill, then you go to the upper S's, leads you into the really fast and nearly blind South Bend turn 10. That usually catches everyone off guard. Very tough corner, especially in these formula cars, because it's going to be fast. You get through South Bend, and it leads you to the old oak tree turn down there at turn 12, and a really tough decreasing radius, but it's probably one of the most critical corners for a fast lap around VIR, because it leads you on to Madison Avenue, the long back straightaway. Just seems to go on forever. This will lead you to your best passing zone as you come up the hill. It's a long uphill straightaway up into the top of what they call roller coaster turn 14. Go down through the roller coaster 15, 16, 17, and then we sweep around Hog Pen, and don't be surprised.
Off camber, downhill, so definitely always very tricky to just get back onto the front straight there. So as you can see, we've got the pace car now bringing the field around. Larry, we can see here on the screen what the current track conditions are. 70 degrees, air temp and track temp just a little bit hotter than that, but as always, you're going to see at the end of May at VIR, incredibly humid air out there, which might cause a little bit of decrease in power, but we've got a pretty big field. Why don't we start running down the grid?
Sure. So on the pole, the only driver to turn a lap in both practice and now in qualifying with a 39.7, Paul Darling. On the outside of front row is going to be Max King. On the second row, Mackay Stevens alongside Andrew Pallotta. The next row, we're going to have Chris DeShong alongside Caleb Patry. I think Caleb Patry won our Fun with Cars session the other night, so he's definitely got some speed there as well. Keep an eye on him. On the row 4, on the inside, you're going to have Kyle Herbst. On the outside, Evan Rackison, who was late to join the practice, but was able to get a couple laps in there and qualified pretty well here on row 4.
All right, then we've got in row 5, we've got Max Grau and Jake King starting 9th and 10th. Then Danny Richardson, a little weird to see him in a Formula car, not in some big American iron. He's going to be lining up next to Max Kittleson in 12th. Then we've got Andrew Abbott and Paul Slavonic, who we followed a little bit earlier in the 528 car. Then Larry's son Jackson McLeod in the number 133 with John Vogel starting right next to him in 16th position. Then we've got Alex Jensen and Nick Hemes. Then Kyle Vallejos and Jameson Huffman. I know his father very well out of the Washington, D.C. region, Justin Huffman. Then we've got Grant Vogel and Evan Slater starting 21st and 22nd. Mick Blue and Darren Treacle. Darren trying to get some redemption off of that horrible TCR race, GT3 race he had at the very end of the Super Tour at Mid-Ohio a couple of weeks ago. So good luck to him. Then we've got Justin Sang and Jeff Miner. And as our cars now are coming through Hog Pen, and the pace car is going to check down into the pit lane. Let's get ready for the start.
Yeah, this will be interesting down in 1 to see who can get track position. I think they're going to want to get sorted out. I don't know how many of these guys, besides the Fun with Cars session of the night, have actually done a lot of side-by-side with each other unless they had a chance in practice. This is going to be interesting. How well do these aero cars do in traffic?
All right, well, we've got the cars now. They've taken the green flag, heading down into turn number 1. We've got the 19, the purple car of Paul Darling. Max King follows through, and we've got a number of cars that have gotten into an incident here at turn 1, and maybe too many. I don't want to say it's too many cars to count, but there are a lot of them, and it looks like they're getting together, just trying to get back racing as our leaders now go through left hook and start to make their way through turn 5. And we can see here now as things are starting to play out. Paul Darling has opened up about a 4-car length lead over Max King. Michael Stevens in the number 1 car, he's sitting 3rd. Then we've got Caleb Patry, who you mentioned had won the Fun with Cars session. Andrew Pilata in the number 93 car, sitting right back behind him as our drivers now making up through those fast uphill S's here very quickly. And well.
That was himself. Okay.
Yeah, that was Max Grau taking the shortcut from South Bend all the way down to the Oak Tree. Now, of course, this layout of VIR has the actual Oak Tree turn, a much more difficult turn now than you have in real life, where the Oak Tree, unfortunately, in a big storm, actually fell down a couple of years ago, but which has really opened up that corner and made it much easier for exit. But as you mentioned, key turn to get a good run onto the back straight here as our leaders now making their way down through the roller coaster, aptly named here at VIR, and back onto the front straight to complete lap 1.
Yeah, a little hectic there for the back of the pack, but you can see already the front 6. And then we had mentioned just there at the end, talking about the track here, is Hog Pen is so dangerous, so tough to hold on to. And you can see in the background there are a couple of cars off already. These cars are really high curbs. It's kind of bumpy down there. You lose it in one of these cars, you're going to go skipping off. And Kyle Herbst, one of our up-front qualifiers, had qualified actually pretty well. Unfortunately, he's already found himself off a Hog Pen.
Yeah, looks like we've got another car joining him, who went so far off we didn't even see him go off, but just rejoined the action here as well. And yeah, as you mentioned, as you go down through the roller coaster, some of the curbing definitely raised up just a little bit, and it could definitely upset these cars more so than say the Miatas that we'll see a little bit later today.
Yeah, right, yeah, definitely. You want to stay off of those curbs in these Formula cars. There's a couple like here through the S's, the snake lower S's here through the upper S's. It's okay to hit them a little bit. It's not bad. You can actually clip the apex even through the bend here at South Bend. It's not terrible if you hit it right. The one that really seemed to be a real bugger is the one, and it's car going off there left. The real bugger here is
that was Alex Jensen.
Yep, the slow curve. Oh, little tangle there. Oh, Max Grau involved here.
Yeah, it looks like he had some issues. Yep, and yeah, we'll see as he goes off with a second lap in a row off at South Bend, goes to rejoin, and as he comes back on, he spins off, but following right behind him was... Yeah, we'll try and get the number, but it looks like a lot of drivers having some issues. There's Robert Dietz. He goes around, and you can see, looks like his day is likely done now, and we're starting to see a lot of cars on the pit lane, Larry.
Yeah, well, we got this little train, about 6 cars out in front. Paul Darling is just setting a kind of machine-like laps right now. Max King just going to stay in his draft, but I say that right as he's trying to make a move into 1, using a bit of a pick there by that lapping traffic.
Yeah, so we now have a new leader, and it's Max King. Now, Max typically drives Spec Racer Ford 2, probably Spec Racer Ford 3, sorry about that, Max, in SCCA road racing, and looks like, and I don't know if this is his first time in a Formula car, but it looks like he's got it handling pretty darn well as he gets around Darling to take the lead. We're now following Andrew Pilata, and Pilata in the number 93 car. He's currently running 5th, and you can see he's got a battle for 3rd right ahead of him.
Yeah, Patry and Stevens are interesting place there for those guys to try and make a pass there right in front of Pilata. Patry just getting a little bit anxious. Those guys, similar paint schemes there as Patry trying to get around him, but looks like Stevens is going to end up taking himself out there. I was kind of curious there if King and Darling were just going to maybe try and pull away and do a little bit of swapping, but that draft, I think, with these cars are not the strongest horsepower. It's really tough to pull away once you get onto this straightaway, as long as someone's in draft range.
Yeah, and I think we finally now have the answer to that question. Didn't take very long as Max King gets on the brakes very early, lets Paul Darling back into the lead, and looks like we have another car that's gone off right behind. Yeah, so Patry goes off now, so that pair, that's going to move Pilata now, who was sitting in 5th just a couple corners ago. That moves Pilata now up to 3rd.
He's up to 3rd, but it looks like there's going to be a huge gap, a big deficit down to the Darling-King battle for the lead. But Pilata's just going to be kind of sitting by himself, I think. We'll just kind of watch and see how these two battle. If they're just going to be feeling each other out for a little bit, 20-minute race. See if they can keep their margin, but feel each other out. Who's quicker where? And that's where you get into the setups. Is somebody quicker through some of these 90-degree corners? Is somebody quicker through the S's? Is someone quicker down the straights? This is where you get to feel that out if you're one of the drivers. And these guys may not have run against each other yet.
Yeah, we'll see. From what it looks like so far, it looks like King has maybe a little bit more drag, a little bit more downforce. It seems to have the better handling car through the twisty sections, but as we saw going down Madison Avenue just a few moments ago, doesn't necessarily have the straight line speed of our leader, Paul Darling.
Yeah, it was tough to tell because once you get into somebody's draft, these things really are going to just take off like a rocket. I'll be curious now as they're flopped the other way, is what's the draft look like for King now that he's trailing Darling?
All right, if we move back a little bit, we take a look now at Andrew Pilata, and you see he's not that far off our lead pack at this point. As a matter of fact, he might even be making up just a little bit of ground. That last time by, he ran a 1:41.1, and that was 3/10 faster than King and a full 5/10 faster than Paul Darling. So he is definitely starting to make up some ground. But Evan Rackison, not ready to concede yet, and he's hanging right on Pilata's tail.
Rackison's done a great job of staying clean these early laps, just sort of staying close. And I think what Pilata and Rackison staying close is because Darling and King have done a little bit of side-by-side, especially through turns 1, 2, and 3. And I think that's let these two guys kind of stick close with them. And is that a Chris DeShong kind of all by himself, just a couple seconds back as well. So he's kind of watching this in front of him and hoping some of these guys make some mistakes and he can get in the mix.
Yeah, we've seen DeShong in season 1 of the Super Tour, driving both the GT1 Cadillacs and also the T2 Mustangs. So first time out seeing him in one of the Formula cars. And it looks like a big mover, Andrew Wozencroft, who we saw during qualifying take a little spin here, but there's been so much attrition towards the front end of the field. He's now made up looks like 14 positions off the start here, just about 8 minutes into the race.
Yeah, as Kyle Herbst there going around, I'm trying to get one of his spots back as he had started up there in 7th, and you see right there he had dropped nearly 20 spots, trying to get a few of those back here and try and stay clean. And it's one of those things, you go off in hog pen and you suddenly, especially doing a first lap, you're going to lose a lot of track position.
All right, here's the battle for 3rd now coming up and setting up over for the roller coaster, and we have a new 3rd place driver. That is Evan Rackison in the number 20 car. He got around Andrew Pilata, so dropped Pilata now back into 4th position, and you take a look. They haven't lost a lot of ground to our leaders, but it does look like Deshawn's making up some ground there.
Yeah, he might be, especially catching up to that third, fourth place battle. And I think for the Rackus and Pilata, that's actually their best move, is to probably do those swaps, try and maintain pace. But Darling and King are just flying up there.
Yeah.
I mean, look at these guys turning 40.9, 40.7. I look at Darling's last lap was a, what's up now? It was a 40.2.
40.2.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys, those front two are just flying right now, just kind of on their own level. I'll be curious to see now as we get to the halfway point, as we've done here about 5-6 laps, how do the tires manage? Are they able to continue to do those low 40s, or do they start to fall off a little bit? Just fascinating by their pace, though. They're so quick.
Yeah. All right, here we got Brandon Abbott, another great run by Brandon, Formula V driver in the SCCA. He's moved up now to 19th, so he's picked up 10 positions. And if we see him here, he's right behind Paul Slovanik. Slovanik, if I remember correctly, started 14th, so he's lost a couple positions here in the first couple laps of this race.
I think his brother Andrew is sitting in 14th, so he's trying to get a couple spots up and get the Abbott brothers back together. Both running their Abbott Family Racing livery on their cars.
All right, here we go. Another battle heading up to the top of the roller coaster for the lead. Darling manages to hold off Max King one more time, but look at this. Another change for third, with Pilata getting around Evan Rackison one more time.
Those guys are, Pilata and Rackison are really, really close to staying in the draft behind the Darling and King. I don't think they lost much ground on this lap gone by. But I do wonder if Darling's running a little bit more trimmed wings than King is. That's why he's able to hold on to that position down that straightaway. Could also be why King looks a little bit more stable in some of the slower speed corners.
Exactly.
Oh, even do a little swap here through one to see if he can hold it going through NASCAR Bend. I don't know that he can. He does. Rackison concedes.
They're not giving up a lot of ground. Matter of fact, for the second lap in a row, both Pilata and Rackison, even with the changes in position, like you said, they're kind of maybe just a little bit out of the draft. But that last time by, Pilata at least was the fastest of the top three drivers, and Rackison not all that far behind. So they're definitely making up some ground on our lead pack, as at least for the time being. Now we can see here as they come out and into Oak Tree, they maybe have held off on their battling just a little bit.
I think they were making up ground until they went side by side through turns 2 and 3, and I think they lost about a second and a half based on what I'm seeing on the gaps. Yeah, they seem to be just too far behind, and now you can see Rackins is going to make that move, and I don't think Pilata's got any choice. He's going to have to let him go. Yep. But Deshawn's only about 2.5 seconds behind these guys. He's going to be in this. A couple more of these laps. If they go again side by side through turns 3 and 4, Deshawn's going to be right there. It's going to be a 3-car battle for that final podium step.
And he's chipping away, slowly but surely.
Completely. I think we've got a little battle shaping up for 6th and 7th there between Stevens and Patry, as they found each other again. We had seen one spin in one corner, another one spin in the other corner, and they found each other again for this battle right now between 6th and 7th spot.
And of course, this was the battle for third early on, but as you mentioned, we had Stevens go off on the very first lap, or the end of the first lap, and then we had Patry go off about a half lap later, and they've got a pretty good sized gap up to Deshawn, so it may just be a 2-car battle through the end of the race here.
It could be. The only shot would be if Kittleson's able to make up ground, but these two are probably clicking off some pretty good laps right now. But this will be an interesting battle because they are just nose to tail. They'll be in the same boat of what we've seen with Rackus and Pilata, possibly seeing some swaps on Madison Avenue straight, and it may come down to strategic. Who's got the lead going around Oak Tree might be the one who loses that lead going into roller coaster in the last lap. They're going to play. They're going to fight going into South Bend. This could be fun.
All right, as they come down, wow, look at this as they start as they come out of South Bend, go towards Oak Tree side by side. And, we said that this is absolutely a critical turn. You really have to dig out of there in order to get speed to go down the straightaway. And you can see exactly what happened here as Stevens caught on the outside, just did not get a good exit. And he's lost a lot of ground to Patry going down the straightaway here. But it looks like he's made it up under the draft.
Yeah, completely. He was able to draft him and get right back around him.
Yeah, that's surprising how much ground he made up, given the exit that he had. But yeah,
I can only assume he's just running that much less wing. You know, you run a little bit less wing and you get in someone else's aero, and it's just like a rocket ship.
Well, let's see here. Yeah, Stevens pulling into the pit lane.
Huh. Yeah, it could be an incident penalty. So that's one of the things we've got going that's different this season than last, is we're running a steward penalty system. So the way that iRacing stewards work, or iRacing penalty systems work, is an accumulative system. So if you put one tire off, two tires off beyond their track limits, it's considered a one-time penalty. If you make side-to-side contact with another car, it's probably going to be a two-time penalty. If you make hard, nose-to-tail hard contact, it's going to be a 4 contact. That accumulates all the way up. If you get a total of 15 of those, you're going to be assessed, I believe it's a stop-and-go penalty. Not sure if that's what happened to him, but I just want to make sure that that's known. All the drivers obviously are now aware of that. But as you're watching this, not seeing a lot of that. We are seeing a lot of is what we're seeing here, which is spins and offs. So those one-offs. And the other thing there is, iRacing gives you a one-time for off, but a spin actually gives you a 2x for loss of control. And that might have
added up, just as we see Caleb Patry go off here, and those two drivers. Patry seems to emulate whatever Michael Stevens does half a lap before. So looks like Patry continues on. We'll have to see if he can continue to run here without having to serve a penalty as well.
We'll see if those two find each other again before the race is over.
All right, so here's the battle right now. We're following. Let's see, who we have on board right here. That is Bessemer. Yeah, we've got Bessemer and Abbott. That is the battle for 17th position. It looks like Jake Bessemer just gets by Brandon Abbott as they head up to the top of the roller coaster. So a good battle there. Again, the battle now for 17th.
Yeah, it's tough battle. It's tough to do any defending if you're on the wrong side going into that roller coaster. And then once you get up there, you just don't want to go side by side. We've talked about that when we ran the Hoosier Super Tour race here a couple weeks ago. And you do that in a car like this, there's just no way you want to go.
Oh, there we go.
There's some contact.
Yeah, and it's not just contact. You can see now that Paul Darling in number 19 car, our leader now, he is out of the race. Going into the lead now is Jay King. Let's take a look at it one more time as they went side by side into the uphill S's.
Was just looking so tight, and just kind of that incidental contact. You thought maybe they can hold that through those coming out of those S's. They went in there side by side. Everything looked good up to a point, hugging curbs, and just
yeah, but you can see the fragility in the car there as his right front suspension is the side that collapsed as he went bouncing through the grass there. It wasn't from necessarily from the contact that he had with Jake King on the left-hand side.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because that really was, Paul was running a great race, and he and Max were just putting on a great display of how to run side by side. Now I wonder if Max has any of his own damage as the car driving straight after getting through that, because his lead over Rackson and Plata is just a couple of seconds. So we're going to keep an eye on his lap times and his pace, see if he gives any of that up. This certainly doesn't look like it's going to be over at all. Oh, looks like Rackison's kind of put a couple car lengths between he and Andrew Plata.
They both still seem to be running pretty consistent laps here, but we saw before it looked like Rackson definitely had the straight line speed, certainly on Madison Avenue on the back straight here at VIR, but he's still got a ways to go to get up to our leader Max King. But we've got King now coming up on some slower lap traffic on the number 24 car, Christopher Hammond, and especially as they come now, I was going to say as they come down into Oak Tree, that might have slowed King down, but Hammond Hammond made it kind of easy for our leader. Yeah, drove off the end of the track there over at turn 10.
We've all been there. You just say, I really don't want to get in the leader's way. I'm just going to, if it means I got to go in the grass, I'll go in the grass and get out of his way. So appreciate him doing that. Leader sure does. And here we go again with the swapping of spots.
Yeah, but again, you see the 93 of Pilata, he just doesn't, even though he was in the draft there for a while, just doesn't seem to have the ability once he pulls out of the draft to get by Rackison sitting in second, as opposed to a couple laps before where we saw Rackison pretty much come out of nowhere to drive right on by Pilata.
Yeah, Rackison definitely looks like he, sort of like what we'd seen with Darling, might be running a lower downforce setup, and once he's able to step out of the draft, able to maintain his speed and make the pass, where Pilata might be running more downforce and really can't quite make that pass. Not as easily.
All right, white flag is out. We are on the very last lap, and you see here now as our leaders head here on the very last lap.
It does not look like Max King lost any pace from the contact incident there with Patrick, but it does look like Max had a little incident there through 3-0 by himself and has allowed Pilata to slip on inside. But we just talked about, do you really want to be leading in a battle like this on the last lap going around to Oak Tree? That actually might have just been what Rackison needed. One of those,
it's better to be in the lead on the last lap here, knowing that he might have a speed disadvantage in a straight line, to at least have the opportunity to try and make the car very wide and possibly hold off Rackison, whether he's going to be able to do it or not.
Maybe if you're Pilata, yeah. If you're Rackison, you just hope you get a good enough run off of there. So this will be close for Rackison. He's got to get up on him, and if you're Pilata, you got to stay to right. You got to stay to the inside of the turn 14, but you're just going to be a bit of a sitting duck. He's just going to give it to him.
Yeah, I don't think he has a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see he ends up clearing them by probably 2 car lengths, but goes in really deep. Yeah, went in deep, and you can see he almost slid off the track there at the top of the roller coaster over at turn 14, and that gives Andrew Pilata. Yep. Yeah, it gives Pilata the position, as we now have our winner, the first winner of the night and season 2 of the eSports Super Tour, and that is Max King. And Larry, as the cars continue to come across, looks like the 37 more issues tonight, and the issues with your son Jackson McLeod.
It's not good.
No, certainly not.
That's right up the roller coaster,
the top of the roller coaster. Yeah. All right, we're going to roll back, see if we can see what happened here as they come up to the top of the roller coaster.
Last lap.
Yeah, and that's Grant Vogel in the 37 car. Oh, and he just didn't get the braking done in time. Went right into the back of McLeod's 133 car.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, I'll refrain comment.
Not a happy father. I was going to say though, Larry, that as we watched Max King come under the starter stand there to take what should have been the checkered flag, for some reason we might want to go and call the folks at NASCAR, because they apparently the guy up on the starter stand, he's been named Barney apparently, and at least for the NASCAR races, he was actually throwing the checkered flag with aplomb.
He looked awesome.
Yeah, he did. Actually, pretty funny story that for the first race, the first real NASCAR race this season that they held, I believe at Darlington, the starter was up on the stand and actually mimicked Barney to the T with the shoulder throw. He said he almost dislocated his shoulder trying to do it. But it made a lot of people at home happy. So especially since there was nobody in the stands. So all right, so let's take a look here. We're running through the order now on the screen. Max King, as we mentioned, took the win. Andrew Pilata finished second. Evan Rackison third. Krista Shong holds on to fourth. Then Max Kittleson, Caleb Patry after that spin comes back. He finishes in sixth. Then we've got John Vogel, Andrew Abbott, Jake King. We didn't talk much about Jake. Usually we're used to seeing Max and Jake running side by side, usually one of them in the grass. But Jake finishes in ninth. Alex Jensen finishes in 10th. And we had Paul. Yeah, and I was going to say then Slavonic, Vallejos, Bessemer, Jeff Miner. Brandon Abbott finishes in 15th, then Grant Vogel, Darren Treacle finishes in 17th, Jackson McLeod, who we just saw up at the top of the roller coaster there, he manages to get the car home in 18th, and Karim Hussein finishes 19th. Michael Stevens, who had to serve that stop and go, actually that stop penalty, not stop and go, he finishes in 20th.
Yeah, so a couple of notes. Obviously, Paul Darling started the race from the pole, had a bunch of good laps, had that contact there. Unfortunately, took him out. Keep your eye on him for the rest of the season because we know he's going to be fast. The other one's Max Grau, of course, part of competition one, started the race ninth, had an incident there, had a couple of offs early on at the South Bend. I'm sure he's going to get his speed back as well. So probably going to see him later in this season. So I think it's promising. We've got some really strong talent in this field. This car is really interesting from a tuning perspective, because we're going to go to a variety of tracks. We're going to need some different setups. So to watch the drivers adapt to their driving styles, which we saw from last season, but now have to adapt the car's setup style, it's going to be fascinating to watch that migrate and change throughout this whole season.
All right, so and of course we've got Kyle Heyer sitting in the director's truck right now, the virtual director's truck. Wondering if we had anybody to bring in for interviews. All right. So we've got now Max King, who is our winner of the very first race of Season 2 of the eSports Super Tour. Great run, Max. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your run today?
Yeah, that was a pretty good run. I feel bad for Paul there. I went back and watched the replay. I had a bit of netcode because there was about a half car width worth of space. But up until then, we were having a really good race, really fun battle. Me and him pretty much had equal pace for our cars. I was working on the setup with Jake, my brother, for like a half hour beforehand, and had to get this thing a little bit dialed in, but had to sacrifice a little bit of top speed for that. So I couldn't quite get Paul on the straightaways, but I was getting him on the corners and then braking. We had pretty good. And then on that pass I made, he slipped up a little bit in the beginning of the S's. And so I had a nice run on him. And I was like, all right, I'm going to take this chance. We'll see. It's risky, but if I pass him here, I can probably break the draft and gap him. And there wound up being a little netcode bump there because I was all the way to the left. I couldn't get over any farther. But it was clean racing all the way up to that point. It was good racing, good hard racing. He had a really good drive, so shout out to him. And this was a great, fun battle, especially the beginning. That was a crazy start, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was, and I think you said it. It was something that Larry and I noticed that it didn't look like he had the ultimate speed that the 19 car had, but you certainly were able to hang with them in all the twisty sections here at VIR, and just kind of an unfortunate thing there as you guys were going up towards the S's, but it looked like a move that you had to make at the time, and unfortunately a little tap there, and it looks like the majority of the damage he got was from running off into the grass that it was on the passenger side, or probably not the passenger side, but on the right side of the car. But great run nonetheless. Congratulations, Max, and hopefully we'll see you back. Are you going to be running the MX-5 race as well today?
No, just the F3s for tonight, but I'll see you next week. Got this points lead going now. Might as well keep it, and we'll try to get that Formula Enterprise 2 drive. That'd be a lot of fun.
There you go. All right, we've got Max King, our winner tonight in the Dallara Formula 3 cars. And next up, in just a few moments, we're going to have our Global MX-5 Cup cars. But real quick, let's talk about a couple of the great partners of the SCCA. First is Sunoco, the official fuel of the SCCA. For 125 years, Sunoco has been fueling victories on and off the track, which is why Sunoco has trusted to fuel over 50 series of racing, driving, and winning, including the SCCA National Championship runoffs, SCCA Pro Racing, NHRA, and NASCAR. To find race gas near you, visit www.racegas.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS. And then, of course, there is Tire Rack. And Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago with a product line that fulfills the tire, wheel, suspension, and brake needs of the enthusiasts and their friends for both the track and the road. As the official tire retailer of SCCA and title sponsor of the SCCA National Solo Program, Time Trials National Tour, and Time Trials Nationals, TireRack.com, America's leading high-performance tire and wheel source, is able to showcase a broad range of new products in suspension, brakes, and accessories while supporting the grassroots motorsports enthusiasts. So check them out, of course, at TireRack.com. All right, Larry, so we're going to give everybody a little chance to take a breather. We're going to get set up now for our next race. That is the Global MX-5 Cup race, and we'll be back with you in just a few moments on Season 2 of the 2020 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA eSports Super Tour.
Time trials is a 2-day event typically for our national events. It's 2 20-minute sessions each day with a track sprint added in, which is, it starts with a standing start, flying finish, so it's a lot like a hill climb. You've got autocrossers out here, you've got road racers out here. It doesn't really matter what your background is, you're gonna find a home here that's pretty rad.
It's a lot of fun, it's a lot of speed, it's safe, and it's a great group of people, and it's very well organized. The organizers really have it running like a top now. Everything from getting transponders on the cars, getting them gridded, getting them out on track safely, and making sure that everybody has a good time.
You have to learn the track, you have to know the track, you have to know how your car is going to behave on track. Because really what a time trial is a qualifying lap. I always say if you get 2 solid laps in, that's perfect, because once you do 2 laps on street tires, you're going to burn them down. We don't grid by class, we actually grid by experience level. So you'll be with like individuals with like skill levels and like experience, and that's part of what makes this program awesome and an easy entry to get into this kind of thing.
The way the competition is structured, the way the coaching hierarchy is structured to where every group gets a coach and everybody's working on what they're doing every session, it makes it really easy to get new people into it, and that's what this is all about. I particularly like time trials because the barrier to entry is so much lower than like road racing. The level of build quality, especially at time trial nationals like the sport class, is so incredible to where you can show up with a stock car and be competitive because that's what the class is built around. The SCCA, they have a plan, they work the plan, and they pull off some big events, and it's really impressive to see.
Once you get involved with the SCCA time trials and you get a license and you move up the rank, you get up to advanced, then you can move on. If you wanted to dig deeper and get really into time trials, there's other programs out there that they want to see that license to know where you're at and that you're good enough to run. So it's a great place to start, but it's also a great place to blossom and then move on and move up the ranks. Just like road racing, you start as an amateur and you move up to professional. If you've never done it before, just come out and experience it, because the way we set up our time trials, it's perfect for the beginner. We've had people who have never done a track day come out and run with us and have a blast. And I mean, come on, driving 10/10 on a road course, how can you beat that?
When the finish line calls, we answer. Hit the road with insurance protection from Hagerty. Whether you drive a built racer, sports car, or exotic, and save an average of $264. Get a quote today at Hagerty.com.
All right, and we are back with the 2020 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, eSports Super Tour, pardon me. And of course, this is the first week of Season 2. We'll talk about the rest of the season here in just a little bit. But before we get started with our second and final race of the night, the Global MX5 Cup race, we wanted to talk about 2 more of the great partners of the SCCA, and it'll make a lot of sense when I finish here exactly why we are doing so. Let's talk first about Hawk Performance, the official brake products of the SCCA. For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance motorsport brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance street friction products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, or the new Talon street rotors, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit hawkperformance.com and like them on Facebook to learn more about Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you? And then a new partner of the SCCA, but one you should all know, and that is Koni Shock Absorbers. Koni Shock Absorbers and the SCCA have had a very strong history from the 1950s all the way up to the present day. Koni adjustable shocks and struts have for decades been a cornerstone and often starting point for performance suspension refinement and tuning. From being the maker of the industry's very first adjustable shock absorber to today's patented FSD street shocks, Koni has long demonstrated that product improvement means product innovation. For more information regarding Koni products and activities, please go to www.koni-na.com, or you can visit them on social media at Facebook, Koni Shock Absorbers, and Instagram at Koni Shocks. So Larry, as we just talked about Hawk and Koni.
Interesting time to talk about those partners for the SCCA, because as we mentioned in the first race, the F3s, we have a new partner and prizes on the line. We've got prizes for the MX5 Cup cars, and you just went through some wonderful discussion about who those partners are here for these MX5 Cup cars. Let's talk about what they're offering.
Yeah, absolutely, Larry. So, of course, we talked about the great package that Competition 1 has for our F3 drivers. We've got a great package for the MX5 drivers as well. The MX5 Series champion this season, they're going to win a set of Koni shocks, which, of course, that is a pretty hefty prize in its own right. But they're also going to win a set of Hawk brake pads and rotors. But we're not done yet with all of those parts for their car. Yeah, wait, there's more. They're going to be able to take all those parts, put them on their car, and go to the 2020 Tire Rack Time Trials Nationals presented by Hagerty, and that's going to be held at NCM Motorsports Park in Bowling Green, Kentucky, home of the Chevy Corvette, a little later this year. Yeah, so great package there for our MX5 Series champion this year. They're gonna definitely like it, and so we've got cars on course, and they are on. They've got just a little bit over 5 minutes left to go in this single car qualifying. And Larry, things were a little bit different for the MX5 drivers to get to the show today compared to the F3 drivers. Why don't we tell them a little bit about that?
So if you recall back in our first season where we had all those 5 races, 8 different classes, and a lot of buzz, a lot of things, we had some pretty high demand for the Skippy races and for the Miata races, and we tried some different ways to cut down the fields. By the end of the season, supply met demand, we just did regular races. Now that we've consolidated our racing into just 2 classes, we still have a pretty big demand. We had 75, 78 or so people try to get in. Well, unfortunately, we just can't put all that number of people on the track at one time, so we're holding what's called a tournament. Essentially what it is, it's a pre-qualifying to get you into the field that sets up our 55 drivers that actually will compete in the race on the broadcast that are currently qualifying for their grid positions. And all that tournament does is it puts them out on the track in a giant practice qualifying session, and at the end of their, I think it was a 1-hour session, the top 55 drivers moved on into what you're seeing now. Now they actually get a chance to do the real qualifying. The old times are thrown away. They get a chance to set new times. And just like the Formula 3 we did a little while ago, this is single car qualifying. So no more bump drafting for qualifying. This is out there by yourself, 4 laps max, 15 minutes max. You got to do it on your own.
All right, we're watching right now the number 164 car of Justin Hall with Team Huge Ass. I can't believe I just said that for everybody. Yeah, well, yeah, somebody called the FCC on me, I guess. Hall right now, he's sitting 11th. At maybe that posterior might be slowing him down a little bit on track. I'm sure he's going to try and pick up his times just a little bit there.
So one of the things interesting though about this car in qualifying that it's the F3, the car might get a little quicker from first lap to fourth lap, but not an amazing amount. By the way, I do love it's got to be Mark Shrivastava. It's got to be with the Oscar the Grouch. Because that's not. I don't. That's not. It looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, but
that's just what I was thinking. He's got the little breastplate and everything there. Exactly. That is not Oscar the Grouch running there. Maybe Mr. Director, could you tell us which driver we were just following there?
That was Justin Hall.
Justin Hall in the 164 car, who we were just
Huge ass.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things about the Miata is we've talked about in the previous season to now is those tires actually need a couple laps to warm up. So these drivers need those fourth lap tires. They really do. You've got to get out there, and the first 2 laps especially are really much, they're going to be throwaways. Laps 3 and lap 4 where you're going to set your top times. So if you go out and wreck the car in lap 1, even if it's by yourself, you're back in the pits, you're starting over again. It's a very big deal to go out there and get lots of times in just to be able to go out and set that flyer in the end. So I think the times you're going to see at the top of the list right now, that belongs to John Allen. That's where they're going to be putting down those number of laps in succession to try and get a real flyer.
There we go. And speaking of flyers, there is our provisional pole sitter right now, John Allen, as he makes his way through what they call Snake here at VIR, or the lower S's, the turns 4, 5, and 6 complex, as he makes his way now up through the S's, trying to best his top time of a 2:09.414. Last time by, he was a little bit off that pace, actually almost a full second off that pace. So he likely does not have many laps left. This is probably his last chance, as we have just
his
about
4th lap. Yeah,
as we have just about a minute left to go in the
couple
session.
names in the field, and again, they're probably done with their laps now at this point. DJ Alessandrini, that had we been keeping points in the first season, probably would have been our points leader, because he won, I think, 4 out of the 5 races or something like that. 4 out of the 5, yeah. Yep, I think Ryan Maloney might have been our other race winner, if I recall. I can't remember, but he's also in the field tonight, so keep your eye on those guys. And right now, they're qualified together on row 3, so that'll be interesting. Another driver that had won a couple of races, not in the Miatas, but had won in the Mustang, was Mark Shrivastava. He's currently qualified provisionally in spot number 4, just the outside of row 2. So that'll be interesting. He's in the Oscar, the trash car. We just saw Sellen Roland. We saw him just a minute ago, so he's currently on row 5.
Yeah, and I wanted to pick out, as long as we talk about Sellen Roland, another driver who's sitting here up towards the top of the field right now. He's currently 7th fastest. I don't believe he's on track right now. That's Michael Carter in the 08 car. Michael Carter I think we may have seen him for 1 race in season 1 on the Super Tour. He is an MX-5 or Spec Miata driver, and has won a couple of races on the real Super Tour, but has also been racing in the Global MX-5 Cup, the real Global MX-5 Cup, along with Celine Roland, and I think has just gotten into esports recently. He's also running in the Ricmotech esports version of the Global MX-5 Cup this year as well.
Okay, well, keep our eye on over him as well. Another name I want to mention is just, running 31st. It's sort of like the old days of ESPN reporting where Dick Trickle was. JG Pasterjak is currently 31st. He's our Dick Trickle, so pointing that out. So when he joins the broadcast later in the season, we'll just kind of refer to him as the Dick Trickle of the broadcast team.
All right, so qualifying is over. We'll go
wait.
quick.
He's got ducks. We're going to call him Duck Trickle.
Duck Trickle, I think, would be more appropriate. Exactly. All right, so we've got the cars starting to grid up here. Let's take a quick look at the weather and see if that's changed at VIR or if it's exactly the same as... Oh, it has changed. Look at this. I think we've dropped a whole 1 degree on track temperature here, where with the ambient temps are 70 degrees. Track temp, a little odd that it's only 2 degrees hotter. I would have expected this time of year for it to be about 115. And the humidity still sitting at 73%. So not, kind of humid, but not all that horrible for these drivers as far as track temps go. They'll probably be able to keep the tires underneath them most of the race.
Yeah, I think so. So it's just going to be interesting as they go around in this warm-up lap. But, they want heat in the tires, but then again, you want the tires to last. So it's going to be strategic and interesting who decides to do any kind of warming up. Really, though, the first lap, you're going to want to see a lot of clean driving, get sorted out. There's going to be some side-by-sides. They're beautiful. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
It's official. We've officially named JG Pasterjak as Duck Trickle. But you're going to see some side-by-sides. I'd like to see, we've seen it here at VIR. Turns 1, 2, 3, you can do a 2x2. You get to turn 4, you get over by the snake, and you really got to get yourself down to single file. We'll see if they get to that point. If not, you're going to see some potential incidents at that point. The next spot as you get up to the S's, if you start seeing side-by-sides still going on in the opening laps as you get up to turn 10 to South Bend, that's where you're going to see Miatas doing their best John Deere impressions and going off in the grass. And we'll see how many of these 55 drivers make it around for their end of their first lap.
They have a low bar to climb to climb over, given the start that we saw in the F3 race, and it looks like we've already got some cars that are having some trouble there, just getting off on the pace lap. That's an innovative way to get some heat in the tires, that's for sure. If they're I didn't know these cars have line locks on them that they can sit and do burnouts on the front straight, but I guess you can't.
You neutral drop those revs. Sure, you can sit there and burn them out pretty well.
There you go.
Yeah, Miata's having trouble keeping up with our Porsche Cup car safety car.
All right, so let's go. We'll run down the starting grid here as our drivers make their way on their pace lap. Starting off on the pole, we saw him in qualifying with a fast lap of a 209.414. John Allen in the number 101 car. Starting right next to him will be Luke Pfeiffer, who we haven't seen, I think, on the Super Tour as of yet. Starting on the inside of the second row will be Jack Tranter with Mark Shrivastava starting fourth. And on the third row today, DJ Alessandrini in the number 91 car. He'll be starting fifth with Ryan Maloney starting sixth. Michael Carter will be starting seventh in the number 08 car. Nate Saxon, who I believe is also in that Rick Motec series, he'll be starting in eighth. Then we've got Aaron Jensone, who I believe finished third at Watkins Glen during season one. He'll be starting next to Celine Rowan in the number 87 car, starting in 10th.
In the 11th spot, Justin Hall. We saw him earlier. He'll be running alongside Elias Roman there in row 6. Row 7 is going to be Ismael Basso alongside Tony Chow. And again, these guys are all qualified really, really tight here. The 210.0 to 211.0 covers about 12 drivers, so this could be pretty tight. So that was row 7. Row 8 is going to be Michael Gagliardo and Tom Layton. On row number 9, you're going to have Tyler Campbell and David Marcus. On row 10, Will Teller and John Hainsworth. Making up row 11, Charles Bailey and Preston Pardis. Keep your eye on him. We know he does really well, even here at the runoffs. Just last fall in the real world, was able to make his way up from back in the pack to finish up on the front two.
Yeah, finished second.
Yep. On the next row, row 12, Murphy Nichols alongside Tom Pendergrass. On row 13, David Stern and Khalil Nutterboff.
Yeah, it's the battle of the DC region right there on that row.
Yeah, pretty much home track for them here.
Exactly.
Almost. That's Carolina region, I guess, technically, right?
Yeah, NCR, North Carolina region, yep.
Yep. Next row behind them, David Graver and Dan Gross. Behind them, Ken Roller and Will Robbins. Behind them, as we mentioned, we've got Duck Trickle and Paul Robinson. And on row 17, Brian McRae and Nathan Stratton. Next row, Sean Hayes, Charles Vaccaro, Eric Parker, Pax Rolfe behind them, Stephen Vrooman, Gotti Merker, Andre Jameson, Dmitry Zelov, Charles Younger, Bobby Blankenship. Big field here tonight. Bjorn Strange, and we're just about to go green.
Yeah, and as they come, we'll talk about as they come down here and come onto the front straight. Actually, just got word from Ben Tyler, one of the officials at the North Carolina region. Thomas Guest is actually an NCR flagger, and he's a Marine currently stationed out in California. So he's made his way back to his home track here as the start of the race for Global MX5 Cup Season 2 gets underway, and our leader is the number 101 car heading down into turn 1. That's John Allen, and sliding in right behind Allen is the number 11 car of Jack Tranter. Gets around Luke Pfeiffer as they come through turns 1 and 2. DJ Alessandrini makes his way now up to 4th, and Mark Shrivastava sitting right behind him in 5th.
Yeah, DJ wanted to get that move in early. Probably not. You always see him starting up on the top 2, so he's going to want to get up there pretty quick. But we know this is going to be a long race for these guys. It's going to be a pretty big pack, and already we've got cars off here on turn 3. Tyler Campbell. Be tough to merge his way back in. This is some tough rush hour traffic.
Yeah, that happens. And I'll tell you, I've run. You said it's kind of hard to get more than 50 or 60 cars. I've actually run a race at VIR where we started with 110 cars, and that was an SCCA race. I wasn't like a Lemons Enduro or anything along those lines. And yeah, if you go off, it could be probably about 30 to 40 seconds as you wait and watch the entire train go by before you can get back on track and continue. All right, now coming down out of South Bend, it is still sitting in the lead, John Allen. Running second is, I believe, again, the number 11 of Tranter. Then we've got Pfeiffer. Shrivastava, I think, got around Alessandrini, then Alessandrini in 5th. It looks like Will Teller in the 39 car. He's gone off coming out of South Bend.
Yeah, again, that's a really tough place. That's this opening lap. You know, you get a little bit of jitters, or if you start running a little bit side by side with somebody in South Bend, it's a bit of a blind entry. It's really fast corner. You want to carry speed and hold your positions, but not easy to do. But look at this train coming down this long back straight. Oh, it's just so tough. And as you start going side by side at the top of the roller coaster, only one can get through there. It's real tough to carry those through. But oh, look at this. Just going to be tight, single file all the way down the roller coaster in the hog pen.
Yeah, you can see there Gagliardo in the 13 car tried to sneak underneath Elias Roman going into the top of the roller coaster, couldn't get it done, and Roman he's sliding around it, and of course, Larry, with these cars, it takes about a lap or two before the tires come in. That first lap for these drivers is pretty treacherous on most tracks.
It really is treacherous in these things, and it just sort of feels like you're on ice at times. But going 3 wide into 1, this is going to be dangerous. But look at that line, a little bit too deep there for the number 13, Gagliardo, just unable to hold that, too much speed. They're going to maintain side by side. Is that?
Yeah, that's David Marcus right there with Preston Pardis in the 32 car. Again, Pardis puts the car around. Pardis was our 2017 national champion in Spec Miata, and he's been running up towards the front of the Spec Miata fields here on the eSports Super Tour, but he puts the car around coming through NASCAR, and he's going to drop a number of positions.
Man, the duck is out.
All right, let's take a look, see if we can find out what happened to JG. Turns in for turn 1 and gets the contact there with the number 34 car, and then it's just bumper cars after that. And you can see the car's actually duck walking across the track there.
I love a good pun.
Yeah.
All right. So at the front, though, it's still a bit of a train. So we've got at least what looks like about a 9-car train, and then maybe that 10th car just kind of hanging on. Celine Rowland, I think, is that 10th car, or maybe at 9th. Maybe Aaron Johnson, maybe? Okay, Johnson might just be just barely in draft range, depending on how he does the straightaway. It's going to be tough to hold in behind Rowland. But the front 9 are pretty much nose to tail. But John Allen still leading. No one's doing much swapping here on this group. Now they've kind of had 2 laps of the book at heat the tires. This might be the lap we start seeing a couple of spots swapping. I don't know if we'll see it on the front straight, but we should see it when they get back to the long back straight.
Yeah, you saw the number 10 of Pfeiffer go right over the curbing there at the apex of Hog Pen. Really upset the car quite a bit, and you'll see the effects of it now as they come down the straight. Looks like Alessandrini able to move up right beside him, but not quite close enough to get it done. He's going to try and sneak underneath, do a little bit of an over-under here, and he might be able to put Pfeiffer a position back, but Pfeiffer's got position going into turn 3.
Yeah, it is tough there because you just want to be in the inside to 3 and it sets you up for the inside of 4. DJ's just sort of playing around with them, filling mirrors. But those guys are tight. They're all really tight right now. But it looks like they maybe even kind of separated themselves within the pack. I'm seeing behind them that even Saxon might not have gotten through 1 as cleanly as the rest. So they may have broken into 9 up into a top 5.
And we're following along. There's Michael Carter, who I mentioned earlier, one of our Global MX5 Cup drivers and a driver in Spec Miata on the Real Super Tour. Actually hasn't been on the Real Super Tour now for 2 seasons as he moved over to MX5 Cup, but he is out of the Atlanta region of the SCCA, and he knows VIR incredibly well.
Maybe within about a 6-hour drive up or 8-hour drive up and down the East Coast, definitely wants to make VAR kind of a must stop. Got to go there. Whether you're from Atlanta or even up into like the Philly area, everybody wants to get down to VIR.
Yeah, it is, as they say, or as Paul Newman said, it is heaven on earth. And it is definitely a destination track for most drivers up and down the eastern seaboard.
Look at this. There's 2 packs of 2 there between the first 2, and again, not making the move on John Allen. Tranter's just going to hang out there.
Yeah, you can see Tranter giving a couple love taps there to Allen, trying to move up just a little bit. As we see now, Alessandrini starting to make his presence known, slips right underneath Luke Pfeiffer coming down the roller coaster.
But Tony Chow, unfortunately, hit the top of the roller coaster.
Yeah, also making his presence known. Yeah, let's take a look here as he just outbraked himself, looks like, going into 14.
I didn't have any help with that one. It looked like it was all by himself.
driver having some issues making his way down the hill. That's David Stern. He's out of the Washington, D.C. region, a showroom spec Miata driver.
Contact there as Tranter seems to be the one that's going to lose out, as is
Pfeiffer. Yeah, both of them. Yeah, so they're both sitting in the grass now, and we'll see if they can get back underway. But that moves Allison Drini in the number 91 car up to second. And there you go. Yeah,
all right.
About that.
So we're going to go back to our leaders. What was a pack of 6 has just turned into a pack of 4 with
Allison Drini second, Ryan Maloney third, Michael Carter in the number 08 car. He's running fourth now. Celine Roland in the 87, quite a distance back, almost 3 seconds back in fifth.
Yeah, so this should bunch up now that Allison Drini is well within draft range. Going to pull Maloney and Carter with him. And then you get that big gap, as you mentioned there, to Roland, Johnson, and Saxon. Those 3 are just too far back to do much. But behind them, and there's Roman and Justin Hall, as they could kind of find their way there. But that's kind of the way these cars race. Is packs of about 3 race really well together. Bigger than that, it's just tough to keep it back together.
All right, let's see. Getting word that Mark Shribastava in the number 20, I guess the 24 car, is having some issues. Let's see what happens here as he makes his way up through the S's. Yeah, he just pulled the car off. So it looks like his day's done.
Maybe he got bit by a duck.
Yeah, could be. All right, we've got the battle now with Celine Roland and Johnson. Aaron Johnson in the 37 car gets around Roland. That's going to put him up to 5th now as we are completing lap number 4, I believe.
Yeah, a little bit rubbing there on the front of Roland's car. And again, here's more of that coming down through the roller coaster offs.
Yeah, that was the 13 car of Michael Gagliardo and the 23 of Thomas Pendergrass, and Gagliardo looks like he's having some challenges getting back underway.
Yeah, we mentioned it during the F3 race that the incident counts are adding up now in this season. So 15 is the number. So again, an off track is 1, a loss of control is 2. Light contact, I think, is either a 1 or a 2 or even a 4 if it's hard contact. Like if you T-bone somebody, it's probably going to be a 4. Those are cumulative, so if you add those up into a total of 15, you'll end up with a stop-and-go black flag. So that's, the drivers know where they're at. There's a menu that they can click to while driving. They know exactly what number they're at, or when they get another one, it'll show on their screen, you're now at X, 9X, 10X, and they'll even know 15 is a penalty. So they know. So when you see the front of Roland's car there with the rubbing, he's probably got at least 2, and he may have more. When you see Gagliardo with already a couple of offs, we know that he's got a couple. So drivers will then have to really be cautious not to put tires off, not to add those up unnecessarily.
All right, we see Nate Saxon in the 16 car lost the position to Elias Roman. Saxon had some problems coming out of left hook going into turn 5. It looks like he's had some issues on the right-hand side of the car as well. But as we said, Roman got by, and Justin Hall in that very questionable driver suit, the Ninja Turtle driver suit, I believe, is sitting right behind him. They're making his way out of Oak Tree and on the back straight.
Another one of these passes. Again, this is so huge drafting spot, great place. We're going to just see this every time, as we just saw the same 2 a few minutes ago making this exact same pass. It's like deja vu all over again. Coming right up here to the top of the roller coaster and down. And these 2 still side by side. They're not going to give it up.
Great battle there
right
with,
in line.
With Hall and Saxon, but we'll have to see, because sitting right behind them.
And they both decide to go in the grass together.
Yeah. Oh, and then right beside there, we've got Basso and Leighton get together as well. So Ismael Basso goes off track on the outside of Hogpen, and I think the driver to make out there was actually Tony Chow, who was following all of them behind. He's moved up now 4 positions up to number 8. Into 8th.
He learned his lesson. We saw him at the top of the roller coaster about 2 laps ago, and he said, I'm not going to do that one again. You guys enjoy your hog pen trip into the grass. I'm going to stay on pavement this time. Well, the battles are definitely heating up in a couple of spots with these guys back on track now after their
going
series
trying to
of
go
loss.
2 and 3 wide through NASCAR and coming into left hook here. Now, Tom Layton in the 04 car, I'm sure he's probably doing a lot of watching in his mirrors after he just finished driving around these two. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of go, wait a second, weren't they just in the grass a second ago, and now they're right here with me? This isn't good.
Yeah, you see him bumping and banging right in front of you, and then you see him side by side directly behind you.
But back to the leaders, as Maloney has gotten around Alessandrini, but these front four are just nose to tail with John Allen, Ryan Maloney, DJ Alessandrini, Michael Carter. And again, right back down Madison Avenue again as they come off of Oak Tree. Allen's got a big enough gap this time, probably going to hold this, but I suspect DJ might be pulling out on Maloney unless he decides to just stay put for another lap.
Yeah, let's see. He tucks to the inside just a little bit to get a little look.
Might just...
Yeah, and he does. And for a second there, I thought Maloney was going to maybe be able to hold him off there. But Alessandrini went forward anyhow.
He's staying out there. He's going to get racy with it. It's just, but you're on that side. It's tough because ultimately these all end with hog pen. It was a big right turn. If you can't get to the right side, you don't have position. Look at him hopping all those curbs, though. Using every inch of it. The way you got to go fast around here. I do like the paint scheme there on Maloney, though. That's pretty cool. It's like magic. My director just said, oof. Come on.
I'm sure Alan Olson with Olson Vest had something to do with it. All right, let's see here. That's the one plug I'm going to give to him all season. All right, so we've got John Allen in the 101 car continuing to hold on, and he's starting to gap just a little bit as Alessandrini and Maloney went side by side going into 3, but Alessandrini retakes second position now, and we'll have to see if he can hold off Maloney and make a march back up towards John Allen, where he's about about 2 car lengths back.
Yeah, I think DJ wants to get to Allen so he can kind of gauge where he's faster. He hasn't really been able to stay there. Yeah, he was behind him for a minute, and Maloney gets around him. But at some point, if you're going to win the race, you got to gauge the guy that you got to make the pass on. And Allen's been basically, I don't want to say uncontested, but no one's been sitting behind him long enough to really gauge where they're faster than him. And that's what DJ, if he's the one that's going to end up making the move, needs to do. Or if Maloney's going to be the one to make the move, he's got to stay up there with him. They're all within draft range. But at some point, you got to know, am I going to get close enough? Can I come off of Oak Tree right here with a good enough head of steam and make the pass going in a roller coaster? Or do I have to do a hero move, down roller coaster, side by side, and hope to make the pass before we get start finish? That's what's going through your mind if you're DJ. Or if you can't do any of that, do you have to have the lead before you even get to Oak Tree on the last lap? Oh, here's a daring pass by Preston Pardis. He makes a stick.
Yeah, he holds on there on the exit of South Bend. And, of course, Pardis is trying to find his way back after that early spin going into turn 3. And he is now setting back. He's sitting pretty far back in the order now. He's currently sitting 17th.
Yeah. He's racy as always, though. He's giving it his best. If he makes another pass here, by 2 passes and 3 corners, if he can make this one. Going to make a move. It's going to get a bit of a push draft. Yep. Hit the brakes, make it stick. Ride those curves. Very precise. A little bit of cross hands, though. Did you see that? Oh.
Yeah, well, look at this as they come into Oak, probably not into Oak Tree. They're coming through turn 2. For a moment there, Alessandrini was right up beside our leader, John Allen. Has to get back in line as they set up for turn 3. And
I think that's what DJ wants to do. He wants to now test Allen. He wants to test him. Where is he when he's side by side with somebody? Yeah, Allen's fast. He was on the pole. But where is he when you've got someone in your mirrors when you're alongside someone? DJ, we've seen him alongside Tomo or any of the other guys that ran these races with him in a couple of different things in the Porsche Cups or even in the Miatas. DJ wants to put that pressure on Allen and see how he responds. Can I get a helmet shot on John Allen? Yeah, there we go. Look at that. The jack-o'-lantern, I like it. It's kind of a skeleton helmet. It's not really a jack-o'-lantern, it's really a pumpkin, but it's kind of a Halloween-like, skeleton head. I like it. Creativity. Big fan. All right, so now we get to see, can he get a run on him? He did get a pretty good hook off of there for DJ. A lot better than Maloney. Maloney seems to have not gotten a good run at all. See if DJ pops out here and tries to make the pass. Allen's going to make him go left.
Yep, and there's the move right there. And right behind him, Michael Carter stepping out around Ryan Maloney as well, so we might have 2 changes here.
Looks like at least one's going to stick, but behind him there's contact. Where are they going to go?
Oh, did they go into the leaders? No. All right, so we have a new leader. That's DJ Alessandrini in the number 91 car. He gets around Ryan Maloney, and he's opened up a pretty good gap there as they run down through roller coaster. Let's take a look at the action here as our third and fourth place drivers get together.
Yeah, you just see what Maloney does here. Maloney just thinking, I don't want to disrupt the leaders. He just holds it to his side of the asphalt there and was able to hold on to it. So tight. But these guys are going to stick together again coming down the front straight. But after all that's said and done, DJ's got the lead, but Allen's right there with him. So we got 2 pairs of 2 for first and second and third and fourth.
And with all that, Celine Rowland and Elias Roman can't seem to get up to our lead packs of 4 here. They're still a little distance back, and Aaron Jensone and 37 cars all over the back of Roman right now as well, and they've been pretty much playing together for the majority of the race.
Yeah, they're trying to catch him. They're just not quite there yet. And these guys have catched Basso. We saw him in the grass just a couple laps ago, and now Pendergrass is right on his tail. No pun intended, with Basso in the grass. Now following behind is the grass, Pendergrass. I love bad dad jokes. Come on. You got to roll with it, folks. That's what you get. It's Thursday nights. Thursday night dad jokes.
Here we go. Yeah, you and Cliff Huxtable. Anyway, all right. So we should, when our leaders go by the next time, we should be on the white flag lap, and they're coming now down into Oak Tree here, and it looks like our leaders have some back marker traffic that has decided. That's the number 12 car that's decided to take to the grass over at the south paddock there, Sean Foes, and he's going to come right back on the track in front of Celine Rowland. We'll see what happens here, but here we go.
Yeah, let's see if he's got enough steam to make the move. DJ's got the track position, but he does get at least 3/4 the car ahead. But DJ, we've seen him do this before, is going to defend really well. This looks just like he and Tomo in the Porsches about 3 weeks ago, wasn't it, when they came through here?
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, unfortunately, they didn't both make it down the hill.
That's where I was going with that. I thought you would remember that.
Yeah, it turned out a little bit better, at least this time around. All right, so back in the lead now, John Allen in the number 101 car, and as he and DJ Alessandrini come and pass Barney here on the the front straight here at the start-finish line, it is, I believe, the white flag lap. It's the final lap now here as they head down into turn 1. Oh, getting loose under braking is John Allen. Tried to go a little bit deep, but also tried to defend the corner, and looks like he might have had some trouble getting off the corner as our third and fourth place drivers are swapping positions once again.
Yeah, I suspect third and fourth are going to battle every corner, but I think our first and second, DJ might just wait and pounce on the back straight, but watching John Allen do this, DJ might just take it whenever Allen gives it.
Yeah, I would say Allen, unfortunate that it's happened on the very last lap, but John Allen there getting very, very loose, seems to might have run off his rear tires, and we'll see what happens as they come through South Bend and see if he can get a good run out of Oak Tree.
This might be earlier than DJ wanted to go, but if he's going to give it to him, he's going to take it.
Yeah, and they don't go in side by side, so we don't have a redo of what we saw during race 1 with the Formula 3 cars.
Yeah, so now it's going to be interesting. DJ now that has the lead going into Oak Tree, he's got to get a great run off of here, and then he's got to defend.
And you can see Allen coming through 10, gets a great run and gets a good run out of Oak Tree as well, was able to get the power down, and he's just where he needs to be, heading up towards the top of the roller coaster.
Yeah, he definitely got a good run, did Allen. Going to get up alongside, but I'm wondering if this is actually going to give DJ a chance to kind of fight back. He was such a long straightaway. Kind of tuck in behind, poke back out, get alongside even before the braking zone. Now they'll be in the braking zone, but he'll be able to come back as they come down the hill. You watch. He'll put himself alongside through Hog Pen. DJ's a very aggressive driver. You give him an inch, he will take it.
And he's right there as they come down through Hog Pen for the last time.
But Allen also got a pretty good run there.
Yeah.
He's going to take kind of a hero draft. We saw this at the runoffs even, where you don't know until they cross the stripe, but I think Allen might have just enough.
And he's going to hold on, and he's going to take the win. John Allen takes the initial win of Season 2 here on the eSports Super Tour. Coming in second, DJ Alessandrini. Michael Carter in the 08 car holds off Ryan Maloney for the last step on the podium.
Well deserved for Carter. Ran nice, clean race up there. And Maloney also very fast for that front four. Good racing for those guys.
All right, finishing in fifth, Celine Roland in the 87 car. Elias Roman finishes in sixth. Aaron Jensone in the 37 car takes home seventh. Then we've got Tony Chow, Justin Hall, Nathan Saxon, David Marcus finishes 11th. Tom Layton, Tom Pendergrass, Ismail Basso, Preston Pardis moves his way back up to 15th. Khalil Naderbov 16th. Will Robbins, John Hainsworth, Mike Gagliardo, and David Graver rounds out the top 20.
So yeah, very normal as we normally see with the Miatas. A lot of exciting racing, some great quality racing side by side, a lot of great drafting. And these guys are like, hey, checkered flags flown, guys.
Yeah,
why not?
This is the cool down lap for them. Still going at it full speed.
Get your money's worth. Do we need to go back? Do we need to get done on comms with them? Say, hey guys, feel free to bring it in. Yeah, great racing for these guys. So it's gonna be an exciting season, I think, here in the MX-5 cars. I think these cars always race really well together. This to me is race craftsmanship. Yeah, this is open setup as well. Not nearly as a tuner class as the F3. The F3's aero cars are gonna be a lot about tuning and driving. This is gonna be a lot about racecraft and that side-by-side nature. We just saw how the last lap played out with DJ in a position where he took the opportunity in between the S's to say, okay, I'm going to take the lead here and see if I can hang on to it. Maybe backfired, allowed John Allen to then make the pass on Madison Avenue, make it stick going into roller coasters, able to take the win there. That's racecraft. Watching those guys trade it up on that last couple laps there is just a beautiful thing to watch. Going to be a fun battle to watch going throughout this whole season.
All right, Kyle, can we get John Allen in for an interview? Is he around? Oh.
The winner's probably still driving his car around, probably doesn't want to be talking to us. He'd rather be driving our VAR, and who can blame him?
Yeah, there we go.
He's doing victory donuts there. Just don't get any black flag for doing donuts.
Yeah, almost took out the pace car. Do those crew members not have shirts on?
Yeah, so that's one of the things about what you can do paints of cars. You can paint your own helmets. You could also paint your driver's suit, which carries over to your pit crew. And yes, you can give your driver/pit crew Bermuda shorts and no shirts.
With Bermuda shorts with nice big hearts on it.
Yes.
hearts on.
Yes, they look like heart boxer shorts. Yes.
Excellent. All right.
And yeah.
That is spectacular. So, of course, as we mentioned, John Allen takes the first win in the MX-5 Cup race, and the winner of the Season 2 of the eSports Super Tour in MX-5 Cup will win a set of Koni shocks, brake pads and rotors from Hawk Performance, and also an entry to the 2020 Time Trials Nationals at NCM Motorsports Park in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And just wanted to mention real quick as we talked about the time trials, and we talked about time trials quite a bit with JG in the lead-in for the show. We do have another time trials event coming up very soon. That is the weekend of June 6th and 7th at Eagles Canyon Raceway in Decatur, Texas. So if you're interested in taking your car out there and running it, please do so. If you go to SCCA.com, you can find out more about that particular event. And having been at a number of these time trial events, I think it's everything that JG says. There's a lot of camaraderie there, a lot of great people bringing out not just not just competition cars. We're seeing a lot of street cars out there, and not even what you consider sports cars. We have a lot of sedans. I think there was a family out there with a Mazda 5 wagon this past weekend at CMP that put on a pretty good show for everybody, father and son. So if you're interested in going to the time trials nationals, please, and you're in Decatur, certainly think about that. The next week after that, we're at the Ridge Motorsport Park in Shelton, Washington. That is June 13th and 14th. And then 4th of July weekend, we return to Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park at Thompson, Connecticut. So definitely look at doing that as well. We've got our winner, John Allen. Larry, you want to?
Yeah, John. So it looked like an easy race win from pole, right? Actually, so
I'm glad it looked that way.
Yeah, no, exciting race. You got early couple laps, looked like everybody's kind of feeling their way out. A lot of jostling behind you, and then DJ finally reached you, and then things opened up. Walk me through a little bit of that when DJ finally got behind you. How that went for the last few laps.
Yeah, honestly, DJ and I have raced a lot together. The most recent time was towards the end of last season at Mid-Ohio, and had a little uncharacteristic contact, and we're super comfortable together. That's
I think he put it as murdering you, if I remember correctly.
Right. You were the murder victim.
Yes, chalk outline and all, but back from the dead. So I knew he would get to me, and oh yeah, that's right, I forgot. I wish I could say that was intentional, but that's a happy accident. Very, very cool. But no, I figured he would get to me, and as far as easy from the pole, no race is easy, as you guys know. When DJ's in your mirror, you've seen what he's capable of, and that's no knock on any of these other guys. You get some big names out there from throughout the SCCA and even across other organizations. So I love this track. This is the first track I ever raced door to door at in the 17 Hoosier Super Tour. And that's where I met some of these guys personally and started some friendships, and it's just been a blast from there every day.
Yeah, very cool. So exciting race tonight, I think. I guess I want to mention one thing about setups with these cars. I know everybody's kind of doesn't really talk much setups with these guys, but are you sharing setups with people like DJ and the other guys, or you just pretty much have one setup, you just set it and forget it?
I definitely don't just have one setup. I'm kind of a setup geek. There's some other guys like that. Ken Halseal's that way. I think DJ's that way too. And we're all pretty happy to share them. But preferences vary. So, what works for me might not work for someone else, and vice versa. DJ and I have tried some of the same setups at times. I like Ken's for qualifying, and I don't like them for the full race. DJ thinks mine are too squirrely, his are too stable. And, so we all live in the same space, but with different preferences. And, that's what's fun about diving into that. Even if it's not a one-to-one transition from the sim to reality, it does still teach you a lot about setting up a car that you can take and apply in the paddock.
Yeah, very cool. All right, well, very cool. You ready for Road Atlanta next week?
Yeah. I'm glad to get this one in the bag. I'm a lot more confident here than there. It'll be probably a reversal. I'll try and hope to qualify top 5 and be there to make some moves at the end. Keep my nose clean, but yeah. Glad to not use the drop week early.
Well, congratulations. Good win here in the opening round of the season, and looking forward to seeing you in some more races.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, John. And we have DJ Alessandrini as well, came in second today. And DJ, the murder victim from Mid-Ohio, was awfully glad that he made it through today unscathed.
Yeah, you can't murder the guy every week or he's going to start suspecting stuff. So played it easy on John Allen tonight. No, John was really fast. His quality lap was super solid. I made a couple mistakes and I knew there was a 5 out there, but my optimal didn't even say a 4. So yeah, John killed it with the lap. And he led basically every lap of the race. Nobody could even contest him. John obviously had the best pace tonight.
Yeah, he really did. But you had to work through this a little bit. You mentioned your qualifying wasn't quite up there, but we watched you kind of had to make some passes even in places we don't traditionally see passes. You were side by side through roller coaster in a couple spots, making some passes even on John there on the last lap, making passes through the S's and things. Was that just opportunities that presented themselves, or especially in some earlier passes, were you doing that because you knew you needed to get up to John in order to have a shot at the end?
I mean, I'm going to pass somebody wherever I can. I'm not really too concerned with whether they expect me to pass them or not. They know I'm there once I'm driving past them, so that's as much of a notice as they need. But I passed John at the end in the S's, one, because I wanted to rattle him a little bit. His race was a little too comfortable. And two, I was trying to stack him up in Oak Tree and actually have him hit my rear bumper so I could just drive down the back straight with a little bit of a speed boost. He didn't fall for it. So then he just drove past me. So that was a complete failure. And the reason why I wanted to pass him in the S's is there was something about the way John was approaching Oak Tree, or something about a setup or something. He would get amazing exits out of Oak Tree every time. So I didn't want to depend on my exit out of Oak Tree, since his seemed a lot more consistent than mine. So I thought I would get a little cheeky, and it didn't work out.
Interesting. It's just a strategy to be the other way around. Be in front of him from Oak Tree, see if he could still get the same exit and kind of shake it up a little bit. That's
right. And being next to him in the S's, like maybe there's a mistake, maybe he drops back like 7/10 because he had to gather the car up, or just kind of keep him on his toes a little bit. Like, don't have it be the normal, we're going to be side by side down the back straight finish. Just try to throw a curveball at him and see how he handles it, and he handled it beautifully. So he deserved the win.
Yes, yeah, he definitely did. He drove just nearly flawless the whole day, and so it'd be a fun season to watch, and some other competitors that maybe didn't have their day are probably going to be back next week and the following weeks looking to get their day. So I think it's going to be a really fun, battle-filled season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mark Shrivastava, like most improved, if we were giving out those trophies, he started playing iRacing in the beginning of this whole pandemic. And
wait. It's not an autograph. We don't give trophies for everybody here now. So.
Yeah, but no, kudos to Mark Shrivastava. It looks like he had a little bit of a rough race, so it sucks to see that. But Mark, you did a great job. So I guess I have to watch out for you and stuff now. Dang it.
Yeah, he's gotten quick. He won a bunch of races in the Mustang toward the end of the season in season 1. Definitely keep an eye on him and in the Oscar the Trash liveried Mustang. So, but yeah, so there'll be a lot of good names to look for. It's going to be an interesting season here, and with points on the line, prizes on the line, it's going to get exciting.
Yep, it's going to be great.
Thanks, CJ. Good finish to be up in the top 2. Looking forward to the rest of the season mixing it up.
Yep, can't wait. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, DJ. All right, and with that, let's take care of a little bit of housekeeping here at the end and let everybody go home. As we mentioned, I think Larry mentioned, next week we are going to be at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, and we've got 5 more weeks on the Super Tour. We've got Lime Rock Park. We're going to be going to Sonoma, and also WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in just a few weeks, where we wrap up on July 2nd at Road America. Also wanted to mention that coming up this weekend, the Real Life Super Tour is getting back underway at Worldwide Technology Raceway, or pardon me, Worldwide Technology Park, just outside of St. Louis, what used to be known as Gateway. My cohorts from Performance Motorsports Network and Super Tour Radio are going to be there. Unfortunately, I'm still here in Charlotte, but they are at Gateway. You can catch all of the action there on SCCA.com. If you specifically go to SCCA.com/live, you can hear not only all of the action live on track, starting with qualifying Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, and then racing will start at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday, but you can also see the live timing and scoring, and we also have a couple of cameras around the track as well. So definitely recommend that you go do that, and hopefully, because he's out there filling in for me this week, Larry, we'll see Andy DeLay, who raced quite a bit in the first season of the eSports Super Tour. He's going to be announcing at Gateway this weekend, so hopefully we'll see him next weekend at Road Atlanta.
Real life race cars can be too cool. We got the Hoosier eSports Tour. We got the Hoosier. We got to come up with a better way. It's still the Hoosier Super Tour, but we keep calling it the Analog Tour. We say that, I'm thinking vinyl records, and that's just not right. So we got to come up with some way to really differentiate the real life from what we're doing here in iRacing. But both are cool. There's space for both, and I think it's just awesome that we can do it all.
Exactly. They've been listening to us. I'm going to definitely be listening to them. And again, at SCCA.com/live, starting Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Hope you all will join in as well.
Absolutely.
All right, so want to thank all of the folks that put this broadcast on tonight. Of course, we want to thank Duck Trickle, JG Pasterjak, for joining us in the booth. We're going to hear from him quite a bit more throughout the season. Also, all the great folks from SCCA, Andy Wolf, Kristen Poole, John Hunter. Also, of course, on the technical side, Steve Ray and Tom O'Gorman, who help keep our iRacing league up and running. And then, of course, the great people from SimTV that are really responsible for what you see on the screen in front of you. Kyle Heyer and also Finian DeCuna, want to thank them as well. So as we said, next week, June 4th, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, next Thursday, we'll be back from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, Larry. I want to thank you, of course, and being a great partner, and we'll see you all next week.